What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in this video, I thought it'd be fun to rank every aspect in Destiny 2. I've recently made videos detailing what every aspect does, so if you want more info, check that out. But yeah, we're just going to go Hunter, Titan, Warlock, and then we'll just go Arc through Void. And we've actually got 51 aspects to get to. I was very surprised there's that many in the game. And there's a few more coming in final shape. There's like a new Solar Warlock one and an Arc Hunter one. So anyways, we will start with Arc Hunter with Flow State. It states, defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you're more resistant while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. So I guess I should talk about, I want to rank these on like their own merit. Obviously, this is like really good when paired with other stuff on the Arc kit, but let's just look at it for what it does. You defeat a jolted target, it makes you amplified, and then you get a quicker dodge, you're more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. So on its own, nothing too amazing. You get double class ability regen rate, plus 50 reload speed, and a 0.8x reload duration multiplier, and 66% DR when dodging. So the DR is nice, but overall, I'm actually going to put this one in C tier. I have to be pretty strict because aspects on their own are all pretty much very, very good. So yeah, but that one on its own is like nothing special. And then after dodging, your next melee attack has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging any jolted targets with melee attacks also blinds them. So this can apply jolt, and it can apply blind if you do a follow-up melee. So say your melee doesn't get the kill, you do a follow-up one, it's going to blind them. So that's extremely strong. Jolt and blind are both very good. So we're going to put Lethal Current in the A tier. Then next up we have Tempest Strike. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to unleash a devastating uppercut attack that travels along the ground in front of you, damaging and jolting targets it hits. So this one is nice. It's got a very long, the compendium says it goes for 22 meters, and it applies jolt. This is pretty nice in PvP, and jolting is always nice. So overall though, how good is it in PvE? Again, I'm just going to say C tier. Being able to apply jolt is nice, but on its own, it's nothing super special. Juggernaut, with full class ability energy, and after sprinting for a short time, you gain a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When the frontal shield breaks, your class ability energy is depleted. While amplified, you block more. So this is pretty much useless in PvE. You don't want to be just running head first into enemies and just losing your class ability. In PvP, it can be good in certain situations in like trials to survive a sniper shot or bait out a sniper shot. But overall, I'm going to put Juggernaut in D tier. It's got like basically no PvE viability. Knockout, critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks starts health regeneration and makes you amplified. So giving amplified is nice. Getting health regen is really, really good. And I'm trying to remember how much it buffs your melee. 100% increased base melee damage and 25% for your charged melee. So that is pretty nice, but your health regeneration can be interrupted. So again, I'm just going to go with C tier. Again, I'm being quite strict because there are some really good aspects. Touch of Thunder, your flashbang, pulse, lightning, and storm grenades have enhanced functionality. So pulse grenades create ionic traces periodically, and they deal extra damage over time. So that's really strong. And storm grenades actually track. That used to be very strong as well. And then you get an additional grenade charge with lightning grenade, which I really like in PvP personally. And they jolt targets without having to run Spark of Shock. So yeah, Touch of Thunder, I'm going to put A tier because it does boost your grenades pretty substantially, and grenades are really strong in PvE. And like I said, it's even good for PvP. Arc Soul, cast your Rift to create an Arc Soul that fires at a target in front of you. Allies can pass through to get Arc Souls, and then while you're amplified, your Arc Souls are supercharged and gain increased fire rate. So you actually get your rift back faster when allies are around you. It says right here, your rift charges faster. And that's actually pretty significant and helpful in PvE. So also, if your whole team has Arc Souls, it can actually add some like fairly good DPS in like a raid scenario. Like 6 Arc Souls isn't anything to sneeze at. So that's a perfect like B tier style aspect. It's pretty good. Defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted or blind targets creates an ionic trace. Collecting an ionic trace makes you amplified. So you can like spam abilities on arc, and this will just help you do that even more so, because as you're doing that, you're getting ionic traces. If you're running Volt Shot, you can like jolt everything. There's fragments that can allow you to blind things. So this one is very, very strong. I'm going to just keep it out of S tier, but it's a solid A tier aspect for sure. Lightning Surge. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to blink forward, calling down lightning strikes that jolt targets as you rematerialize. So being able to jolt is really nice. This is a menace in PvP. Very, very good there. But in PvE, I think you'd rather go with the other two. So I'm going to put this one in C tier, just because it does require you like going right into the fray, being very aggressive in PvE, which in higher end content isn't always the best way to play. So that's it for the arc ones. No S tier arc aspects in my opinion. Gunpowder Gamble. Defeat targets with abilities, solar debuffs, or solar weapons to charge up an improvised solar explosive. Throw a solar explosive that can be shot in midair to cause an ignition. So the only thing I don't like about this is that it will kind of take the place of a healing grenade if you need a heal in a pinch and you throw it at your feet. But being able to cause an ignition after just a few solar kills is actually very, very strong. Gunpowder Gamble is really, really good. I'm going to put it in A tier, but yeah, it's very, very strong. I mean, this season it's very easy to cause ignitions, but in the future, this is like one of the quickest and easiest ways to get an ignition off. Very, very good. Knock them down. Your solar supers are enhanced. Deadshot Golden Gun has damage resistance. Marksman Golden Gun has increased duration. And Blade Barrage launches more projectiles. So the more projectiles on Blade Barrage is huge for like a Star Eater scale hunter. While Radiant, Final Knife blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee energy. That is extremely strong in like so many builds. Ophidia's Spathe, Caliban's Hand. I could go on, but that last little bit, plus with how it increases the damage of Blade Barrage, I'm going to give that one an A tier as well. Very, very good aspect. On your mark, precision final blows grant you and nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration, stacks 3 times. Activating your class ability immediately grants 3 stacks of on your mark. So I love this. I usually run knock 'em down and on your mark because this one also has 3 fragment slots, which is very, very rare. So it can really enhance your build. That's another thing you got to look at. But overall, as far as like strength, it's not the strongest. That weapon handling and reload is very nice. Helps your weapons feel really good. But overall, just B tier, I think. The other ones are definitely stronger. Consecration. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to launch a wave of solar energy forward, damaging and scorching targets in front of you as you leap into the air. While airborne, activate your charge melee again to slam to the ground and create a second larger wave of damaging solar energy. If the wave hits a scorch target, they ignite. So again, this is a really easy way to get ignitions, and this can just like decimate whole groups of ads. You can kill whole zones of people in PvP. Honestly, S tier. Consecration is so freaking good. Even without Pyrogales, but then you throw Pyrogales in, it's really good. But even on its own merit, being able to just cause an ignition on its own from an ability, super, super strong. Yeah, I love it. Roaring Flames. Final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities stacks 3 times. So this will just make your abilities deal more and more damage, including your super. So for that reason, I think it's S tier as well. It's extremely strong. Soul Invictus, solar ability final blows, hammer of soul impacts, and defeating scorched targets creates sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster, and your super drains more slowly while standing in a sunspot. Sunspots applies scorch and deal damage to targets inside. Entering a sunspot applies restoration. So the fact that sunspots give you ability energy back and apply resto, like restoration is one of the strongest verbs in the game. So again, honest to God, I'm going S tier. That's actually crazy. All 3 Titan aspects, S tier in my opinion. Very, very strong aspects. Heat rises. You can fire weapons, melee, and throw grenades while gliding. Hold to activate. So yeah, you just consume your grenade. Final blows while airborne increase the duration of heat rises and grant melee energy. So you can get crazy amounts of melee energy, which is really nice. And like floating up in the sky can be pretty tricky in PvP. But overall, like there is good use cases for it in PvE, obviously, like the Sunbracers build. But just on its own, I'm going to give it B tier. Icarus Dash, dodge quickly while airborne. While heat rises is active, you have an additional charge. While airborne, rapidly defeating targets with your super or weapon grants Cure. So that Cure is really nice and something a lot of people don't know about. But as much as I love Icarus Dash, and again, I pretty much always run it, and yeah, I hate not having it just for that movement speed. And you can kind of like dodge some enemy fire and stuff, but on its own, it doesn't like make a build super strong. Again, I'm just trying to say like how good it is in the game. And in my opinion, it's just, yeah, it's very nice. It's a huge like quality of life thing to have. I love the movement speed you can get with it. It's great for speed runners, obviously, but just for strength, just a C. Touch of Flame, your healing, solar, firebolt, and fusion grenades have enhanced functionality. So your fusion grenades explode twice, and that second explosion actually does more damage than the first. So it hugely benefits fusions, and it also really benefits solar grenades. And then Resto, it'll give you ×2 restoration, which is very, very strong. It's on the cusp of S. I might have to put it in S. Like for the enhancements that it gives, it's very, very good. Like X2 restoration just from a healing grenade, very, very good. So yeah, we'll go with S tier. On to Stasis, Grim Harvest. Defeating slowed or frozen combatants creates stasis shards. These shards grant melee energy when picked up by you or allies. So yeah, the melee energy it gives is nice, and it's very easy to get slowed and frozen combatant kills on Stasis Hunter. But overall, I'm just going to give it a B. It's just, it's just middle of the road. Shadow Dive, activate while midair to quickly descend and shatter nearby targets on impact. So that can be very handy, but there's other ways to, take out crystals. It's very good in speed running, which is, I think, the only thing that's going to keep it out of D tier. Like Shadow Dive, it's great for shatter skating, super fun, one of my favorite things to do. But like just as far as strength goes, it's not the most strong aspect. Touch of Winter, glacier grenades add another stasis crystal. Dusk fields grow in size, and they have that crystal in the middle. It makes your dusk fields really good. And then cold snaps, it creates a shard after it like freezes the first one, and then it chains to the next one, and you get an additional chain. So it makes your grenades way better, especially with like renewal grasps. But yeah, overall, definitely just makes your grenades better. And grenades are pretty strong in PvE, so we'll put it in A tier. Winter Shroud, dodging slows nearby targets. This used to be really busted in PvP. But overall, in PvE, I'm actually just going to have to give that one a D tier. Screw it. It's just not that good. There's better things to run. Am I missing? Nope, that's 4. Cryoclasm. So on to the Titan now. After sprinting for a short while, enables a longer and more powerful slide. Sliding into stasis crystals or frozen targets shatters them. So the thing with Titans is they're kind of all built around making stasis crystals. So Cryoclasm is really nice for destroying those crystals. So where Shatter Dive only got a C, I think that's more because you just don't really make as many crystals on a hunter. But I'm going to give Cryoclasm B. It's really good just for quickly taking out those crystals. You can run it with Glacier Grenades and like a Diamond Lance or whatever. I just find myself, I often run Cryoclasm just for how quickly and easily it can take out the Stasis crystals. Diamond Lance, shatter or defeat targets with stasis abilities or weapons to create a stasis lance. So this works with abilities or weapons, which is really nice if you happen to be running stasis weapons. And then you can throw the lance to freeze targets, or you can like slam it to also freeze things nearby. Diamond lances are really good for freezing. Like I love them. And it does give 3 fragment slots again, which is very valuable. But unless you're running stasis weapons, then you can't really make a ton of diamond lances. I find it better with the helmet, to be honest, than running the aspect. So diamond lances are good, but I'm just going to put it in B tier. Howl of the Storm, while sliding, activate your charge melee ability to launch a wave of stasis energy forward that freezes crystals. So this is just a good way to make crystals. And the stasis melee sucks on Titan. So I really like running Howl of the Storm. But yeah, it just makes crystals. Like it's nothing too special. So we'll put it in B. Tectonic Harvest. Shattering a stasis crystal creates a stasis shard. The shard grants melee energy when picked up by you or allies. Again, it's just a stasis shard one. Warlocks are pretty good at freezing things. But this is shattering a stasis crystal, not a frozen enemy, and for that reason it goes into D tier because you're not going to be making a whole bunch of crystals on Warlock typically. Bleak Watcher, press and hold the grenade button to convert your grenade into a stasis turret that fires slowing projectiles at nearby targets. This has great AoE, like just lockdown effect. Anything that does damage over time is good. It helps make the super better. There's a lot of stuff. I might be partial to it, but I'm just going to put Bleak Watcher in S tier. I think it's awesome. Casting your Rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. This is my go-to in PvP. I love running Stasis Lock in PvP. I get so many people with Frost Pulse that are trying to push with a shoddy. It's great. But in PvE, it's a lot less good. But, I mean, there is 2 sides to the video game, so I'm not going to put it in D tier just because it is very, very good in PvP, but yeah, it's not that great. Glacial Harvest. Freezing targets creates stasis shards around the frozen targets. Higher tier combatants create more shards. So let me just read about this one second here. Freezing an enemy creates stasis shards. So you get 1 shard for a rank and file and up to 3 for mini bosses, champions, and bosses. And then elites are 2. So this would be what you'd use if you did want to make stasis crystals on Stasis Warlock. But yeah, I just don't think it's like that valuable. Stasis crystals are nice. We're just going to put it in C tier. It could maybe be B. I just don't really run it that much, so I'm not super familiar with that one, to be completely honest with you. And that's because Ice Flare Bolts is so freaking good. Shattering a frozen target spawns seekers that track and freeze other nearby targets. So this is really good at like just chaining. So if you didn't want to run Bleak Watchers, you could run Ice Flare Bolts and Glacial Harvest, absolutely, and you'd be making a ton of crystals. But yeah, I'm going to put Ice Flare Bolts in A. It's great in PvE and PvP. Like I said, I go with that and Frost Pulse in PvP, and then Bleak Watcher and that in PvE. But yeah, a really good aspect. Onto Strand now. On Hunter, we have Ensnaring Slam. Activate your air move to consume your class ability energy and dive to the ground, suspending all nearby targets on impact. Using this ability extends class ability cooldown time. This is very good in PvP, very strong. I've abused it to go flawless before. PvE, you can stun unstoppables doing this. You can, just render enemies useless. Suspend is a very strong verb. Jeez. Fuck it, we'll go A. Just because it's so freaking good in PvP. Threaded Spectre, activating your class ability, leaves behind a decoy. This is extremely good in PvE, very underrated. And then after taking significant damage or when combatants approach, the decoy detonates, dealing damage and releasing a threadling. So it can deal damage, it can distract enemies, it can really get you out of jams, especially in solo content. So definitely A tier in my opinion. Whirling Maelstrom, destroying a tangle will weave a violent writhing mass of strand fibers. The strand mass seeks out and damages targets, emitting unraveling projectiles when it defeats them. So it unravels things and it does a ton of damage over time. And damage over time works really good with Thread of Generation. So you can get lots of grenades. But yeah, Whirling Maelstrom is an S tier in my opinion. Anything that does damage over time and you can like do damage while you're hiding, very, very good. And then Widow's Silk, you have an additional grenade charge. This can be awesome for getting around with grapple tangles and the grapple grenade. And then it's also really good with shackle grenades, I find. So yeah, 2 grenades, very handy. We're just going to go A tier. Very, very good. Next, do I even really have to talk about it? So I'm making this video at May 12th to be exact. So there's been no mention of a Banner of War nerf yet. And so all opinions are based on current sandbox. So we're just going to go with S tier. I don't really have to say much about Banner of War. Everyone knows how freaking OP it is. It gives you health regeneration. It buffs your melee. It buffs everything. It's an S tier aspect. One of the strongest in the entire game. Yeah. Health regeneration, great. I could go on. I'll just move on. It's S. Drenger's Lash. Activate your class ability to create a ripple in reality that travels forward along the ground, suspending and damaging targets. I talked about how good Suspend is. Drenger's Lash on its own, pretty nice. If you run Abeyant Leaps, it's definitely better. But on its own, we're just going to give it a B tier just because it's the one path thing that it shoots out instead of 3 that seek. Fletchet Storm, while sliding, activating your charged melee ability to leap in the air, knocking nearby targets away and dealing damage. While airborne, your charged melee, use your charged melee again to launch a cluster of damaging, unraveling projectiles, repeatedly activating. So yeah, this one's fun, but not especially strong. Unravel's good, but yeah, we're just going to put it in C tier. There's definitely better for Strand Titan, no doubt about that. Including this one, Into the Fray. Destroying a tangle or casting your super grants Woven Mail for nearby allies. While you have Woven Mail, your melee regen is increased. So you get increased melee regen, which is amazing on Titan. And then you also get Woven Mail, which is huge for survivability, and you give it to your teammates. So this one's honestly on the cusp of S tier, just because how many tangles you can make, and then you pretty much have like constant uptime on Woven Mail, and that increase to regenerate. Yeah, screw it. Let's just go S. Like, it's the easiest way to get Woven Mail, and it gives it to your teammates. It's very good. Mindspun Invocation. Your grapple, shackle, and threadling grenades have enhanced functionality. Grapple melees spawn 3 threadling eggs. When you consume shackle, this is the big one. You get Weaver's Trance, and final blows with Weaver's Trance active create a suspending detonation. Super, super strong. And then you can perch threadlings. So it's good in a threadling build as well. Honestly, S tier. Like, Weaver's Trance with the shackle grenade is just crazy. Like, it's so freaking good. Tangles that you throw attach to targets and detonate into a suspending burst. Threadling final blows create a tangle. So the suspend is nice. Honestly, just C tier. Like, I like that one, but there's better. Cast your Rift to weave 3 threadlings and deploy any threadlings you have perched. This one is really nice because you can it's a good way to deploy all your threadlings, but then you can also just make 3 out of thin air. We're just going to go B tier. It's just a solid aspect. Weave Walk. This one only has 1 fragment slot, which holds it back a lot. And if Banner of War can have 2, then Weave Walk absolutely deserves to have 2. Hell, even Whirling Maelstrom. So press dodge while airborne to enter the weave, gaining bonus damage resistance from combatants. Reactivate your air dodge or cast your rift to exit the weave. While in the weave, you generate perched threadlings. So I think I'm going to give this one a B because I think it could use a buff. I think it should have 2 fragment slots, and I think you should be able to pick up ammo and orbs. Maybe you can't revive, but you should be able to like pick stuff up while in weave walk. So in its current state, I'm just giving it a B. It's fun and it's really like it's solid, but there's definitely room to grow on that one. Stylish Executioner. Defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants Invis and True Sight. After performing a Stylish Execution, your next melee attack while Invis weakens. So a lot of people forget about the weaken, but that is very, very strong. And then this is especially good on like Gerfalcons, of course. But overall, this one is just really, really good. I loved running it with Suppressing Glaive when Witch Queen came out and Void 3.0 came out. Sorry, just taking a drink. A lot of talking. So yeah, Stylish Executioner, A tier. It's very, very good. Trapper's Ambush. Activate Quickfall to spend your melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a large smoke cloud on impact, which then dissipates. Targets caught in the cloud are weakened and allies are made invisible. Your smoke bomb makes nearby allies invisible when it attaches to nearby surfaces or targets. So this one, you can make your allies invisible, you can make yourself invisible, you can weaken targets. This one's all about going invis. I really like this one as well. We're going to put that in A tier. Vanishing Step. Dodging makes you invis. Very simple, but very effective. Jeez. Like I want to give it A tier, but it almost just seems too simple. I mean, invis is very good. We're going to go B tier, but you could argue A tier for sure, and I'd buy that. Bastion. Cast your super to grant overshield to nearby allies. Casting your barricade grants overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkering behind it. So this is obviously busted in PvP. It's extremely strong, but on its own, all you're doing is giving you or your allies overshields. So because it's so strong in PvP, I'll keep it in B tier, but I honestly don't think it's like that strong of an aspect. Controlled Demolition. Hitting a target with a void ability or volatile explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode. Grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. So the health that you get back is honestly good, like really nice, and it's a huge radius. I can't remember how big, but it's like very big. And then yeah, volatile is extremely good. And then you can just make so many things volatile. So I'm giving, I'm giving that A tier. It's quite strong. Offensive Bulwark. While you have an overshield or inside of Ward of Dawn, your grenade recharges significantly faster. You have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows extend the duration of your overshield. So I'm just going to pull up Void here and get you the numbers. So 400% additional base grenade regen rate, 100% increased melee damage, and increased melee lunge range. So in all honesty, like that's huge. Yeah, that's really big regen rates. I might give that one S tier. Like that's very, very strong. And it's pretty easy to get overshields as well, especially if you run Bastion. So Bastion on its own isn't great, but when paired with that, it's really good. Chaos Accelerant. Hold to overcharge your grenade, making it deadlier and more effective. Increases the size and linger duration of the vortex, creates an additional seeker, has submunitions tracked to targets, and this is handheld supernova. So Chaos Accelerant is really, really strong. I love it on Controverse Hold. I mean, you could argue S tier just because of how strong the vortex grenade is with Controverse Hold and Echo of Undermining. I'll give it A tier, but if you said S tier, I wouldn't argue with you. Cast your Rift to create a Void Soul. When you damage a target with a weapon, your Void Soul flies to them and drains them, doing damage and weakening them. When a target is being drained, you are granted grenade and melee energy. if you're on Healing Rift, and Health if you're on Empowering Rift. Defeating a target who is being drained by your Void Soul grants class ability energy. So this is just giving you tons and tons of energy. I'm going to look up this one too. Oh, geez. Yeah, it's based on enemy rank and stuff. But anyways, Child of the Old Gods is very, very good. Good for locking stuff down. Good in PvP. I've gone flawless with it in trials. Yeah, A tier. But again, you could argue higher. And then Feed the Void. Defeat a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. While Devour is active, Final Blows restore health and extend Devour. So if it wasn't so easy to get Devour just from fragments, then I think this would be S tier. And I still think it's awesome because you can just get it from, like a Controverse Hold Vortex Grenade. But I'm just trying to think if it deserves S tier. Because it's really Devour, the verb, that carries this so hard. But I guess it's activating Devour. While Devour is active, Final Blows. And they nerfed Devour, but on Feed the Void, you get like full health back, where you only get like half of your full health back with the fragment version. And you do get tons of grenade energy when you're getting kills with Devour active. This one's a tough one because like we'll just go A. We'll put all 3 Void Lock ones in A, but again, you could argue S tier for them in my opinion. So as we take stock, let's see, Arc didn't have any in S tier, which is, I think that's true, to be honest. Electrostatic Mind is pretty good. We only had 3 in D tier, which again, I think is good. I didn't script any of this or anything. This is just like my gut feelings, and I wasn't sure anything would be in D tier, to be honest with you. So yeah, we have the same amount of C and S, which is kind of good, because you've got like high ceiling and low floor aspects, and then the bulk is in the middle, which is kind of how it should be. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that list. Let me know what you think. And if you're still watching, thanks for watching. Take care.